And this is where Don and Sue go out for a pleasant evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of This Is Lucha Pod. I am, of course, your wonderful host, that is Kosta K. But things aren't okay, because Darcy Stone has been selfish and she's decided to stay home today. Well, actually, no, she's a bit unwell, but it's fine, I'm professional. I could do this all on my own, but I'm not going to because I have friends. And with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, my co-host for this episode, my good friend and tag team partner, the Heavy Hitter Malik.
Hello. What's going on, Kosta? See, call in a favour and look who turns up.
God, you're far too happy. How are you? How is life? It was your birthday the other week.
Yeah, you got some Lucha Pod stories out of that, man.
I did. I've already shared them with Connor.
Oh, no.
But guys, just a quick one. People who are listening, you won't have to suffer the sound of Connor's voice this time, because we're now in a soundproof booth, so he can't just jump in whenever he wants.
I've got a microphone.
What? I didn't think it would work on... Oh.
Well done, Connor. Pop.
Kayfabed me on that one. Well, anyway, it's not about Connor, it's about Lucha. And Malik, you're here with me today. How excited are you to be here? Be honest. On a scale of like 1 to 10, with 10 being the most excited, and 1 being like you're about to watch a Connor match.
Wow, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's right, I got you back.
That's shade thrown at Connor. He's
okay,
outside the
delete
booth.
recording.
Oh, dear.
Nah, man, I'm excited. We're going to talk about Lucha. We're going to shoot the shit. I can swear on this.
Yeah, you can swear, you're good.
Yeah, fuck.
This
shit,
episode might not make it to air because Malik is here. You never know what Connor's going to have a lot of fun with that edit button on this episode. We're going to learn the true meaning of edit, Connor. But it's been a good month for Lucha. There's been 3 shows in the Resgal for Lucha. Mm-hmm. We got the first ever family-friendly wrestling show. I wasn't there for it. You were though, right?
I was, yes, I was.
What was it like? How good was it? I've heard great things.
It was really interesting to watch that show because it's like you saw a crop of new talent coming through, and obviously like with a show like that, you're going to get people who are going into it thinking it's going to be below par, and obviously no one's going in there expecting it to be WrestleMania because obviously these guys are most of them are doing their first match, and to be fair, they held their own, man. They held their own, and like the show was by no means a bad show. It was actually really entertaining. I enjoyed myself, you know what I mean?
Would you say, did anybody, like any of the people who were having their first match, or even people who were having one of their first matches, would you say anyone stands out early on as someone who you could maybe keep an eye on?
Yeah, like Darian is a good guy. Like he's someone
of the New Blood.
Yeah, of the New Blood. Yeah. Them guys are really good. Even that match was really entertaining because it was kind of like they went in there and they did like a kind of good guy thing, and even Sky held himself in there. Like that was quite interesting to watch. I mean, the whole show overall gave like a lot of. The main thing about shows like this is about getting experience and putting yourself out there and trying something you haven't really got a shot to do in anywhere else. Like obviously because Lucha provides that platform for new guys to come through. So, I mean, they all killed it, man. Like there's a lot of potential there, man.
So one of the things that I did notice on the day was a surprise addition to the show, that being the OJMO. He was added into a singles match with Bruno Brown, which again I didn't get to see, but I've heard great things about it.
Missed out.
And that was really cool as well because that was the same weekend that OJMO had just won the Rev Pro Cruiserweight title. So you got OJMO fresh off a huge win, winning the Cruiserweight title, coming in and helping out and being a part of the family-friendly wrestling show, the first one for Lucha, which was really cool to see. Any thoughts on the match as well, and just in general?
I mean, obviously, like
how that went down.
Firstly, like you said, it's like it's good of OJMO to come over and do that kind of thing, especially after coming off of such a big win. And he's one of them guys that helps. Like he's got a bit of a following now. He's got a bit of traction about him, so he can help guys get out there. But to be honest, like the whole match was, for me, I loved it, man. Like Mikey, Bruno Brown, like to me showed in that match that he's come leaps and bounds. Like he's someone I've seen since the first day he walked into the Resgal, and now he's holding. He did hold his own against OJMO, who's just been crowned Rev Pro Cruiserweight champion. So it's like that in itself shows what we got coming through. And honestly, like Bruno Brown is one of them guys that I think is just on the verge of a breakout. Like the second that he gets like that match, hopefully when people get to see it, like that will help propel him. But charisma wise, in ring wise, like just as a guy backstage, like I mean, the guy is all round like an amazing performer and guy.
No, I agree. I've been saying it for a while. That Bruno Brown's easily one of like the best guys we've got currently in Lucha. It just needs that one big opportunity to break out, and you know the world's going to be his oyster. But speaking of OJMO and the Rev Pro belt, and speaking of Rev Pro, something else happened that weekend at Rev Pro. A certain somebody from our extended Lucha family won the Rev Pro Heavyweight Championship. And I believe you know him fairly well.
Oh, yeah. It's boss man, brother Will Ospreay.
Brother Will won the big boy belt.
Yeah. I mean...
Now, I don't want to talk about that too much because there's going to be a fair bit of that being spoken about in my interview with Cara Noir, which is coming up in just a few moments. But I got to say, like, being there live, like me and you were both there, we were sat next to Roy Knight, who was also there, and what a laugh that was, just hanging out with Roy and shooting the shit with Roy. Big shout out to Roy Knight. But yeah, like being there live was really cool. Seeing Will come out in that amazing jacket with a tiger on its head and just looking like an absolute king. Coming out with Greg and Gary as well, his trainers, our trainers. Like it was just really cool. It was like a full circle moment. He's come back. Like he literally came up in wrestling round the corner at the Resgal, and now here he is at the York Hall, the building that pretty much helped put him on the map, with the two guys that helped get him on the map in the first place as well, winning his first heavyweight championship and basically solidifying the fact that he is a heavyweight now, and he's Big Boy Bill.
He's the best wrestler in the world. I mean, he just hands down.
Well, hang on now. Whoa. I'm right here. Come on now.
Come
on.
I mean,
you know,
maybe on the mic.
No,
on the mic you can take it.
That's not me. I think Will would say that too.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
totally.
I feel like he would definitely be on board.
Yeah, totally. Connor, this is where you pick up the mic and say bullshit, right? This is
bullshit.
There it is.
No, you're all right. You're all right.
No, on a serious note though, he is like the best wrestler in the world. But the main thing, like, you got to think as well. Like, he went out there and obviously like a Rev Pro show at the York Hall, you see so much wrestling, and then it's people are trying to do like obviously really, really good matches, and they were good matches, but then you just see someone like that come out there and against Zack Sabre, and it's just on he's not lying, he's got his catchphrase now, right? He's on another level. He is on another level now. Like,
he is the level.
He is the level. He's the bar setter. So he's doing it, and obviously like coming out with Greg and Gary as well, and walking, and them giving him the ring walk, and because the main, like, one of the things about Will is what people might not realize out of it is that he's fiercely loyal. Like he's
absolutely.
very, very loyal to his people, and the people that backed him, and he doesn't lose track of that. He understands that, you know, he is there because of them, and you know, and that's something to admire as well, because obviously in the kind of position that he is in, you can lose yourself quite a bit, you know, and I've seen it happen with people in different fields of entertainment, and this guy hasn't. He's just...
No, he's very... Yeah. Will has and always will be very humble, always gives back to the people that helped him and his friends, and it's just great to see him now. I mean, he was already on this huge platform anyway. I think we already all kind of knew he was one of, if not the best wrestler in the world right now, but having that belt on him right now just helped solidify that, and it was just a really, really great match and an awesome moment. And like that kind of goes into, like, again, I don't want to give away too much because you're about to hear it, but the interview I did with Cara Noir, Tom Dawkins, we were talking about, it's about creating moments, and that night Will and Zach created a hell of a moment, and I remember being on the balcony with you, just losing our shit when he won, and like even Roy Knight was like, you know, just going crazy, and like we couldn't stop praising it, saying how great Will is, and yeah, it was a great match, and it was a great night, and you know.
Well, this is the thing. Like, this is the thing as well. Like, about something like Lucha. Like, this is what, for me, makes it feel like home, and why I also like stay fiercely loyal to the people I meet there, because like that's a prime example. Here you got someone, right, who's come up from nothing to something to everything, and he's built himself a name, and at the same time, like anyone else can sit there and like look at it and think, oh man, I want a piece of that, and just like obviously everyone does because they're hungry for it, and you should be. But at the same time, when you see someone like from our crop go out there and do something cool like that, like you can see like the smile.
There's no jealousy there.
It's just smile and love, like, you know what I mean, like just so much happiness to see like something like that happen. So
no, it was awesome. Like honestly, there was so much pride, I think, going through all of us from Lucha who were there watching that, and it was just fucking great to see. But going back onto Lucha for a second, let's talk briefly about Britannia, the past Britannia show.
Mm-hmm.
For me, one of the better Britannia shows we've had in quite a while. Like, it was a very, very good show, I'd say, from top to bottom. So one thing I didn't kind of like, I feel like I didn't really give a good enough summary of Lucha Britannia last time, but we're going to get Gary Vanderhorn on here on a future episode, and he can kind of give the ins and outs of Britannia for you all. But basically, all the characters are on Britannia for the most part. You won't see outside of Britannia. They're exclusive to Lucha Britannia, which makes Lucha so special in its own show.
It's its own world.
It's its own world. It's the retro futureverse, as Gary likes to call it. But we'll get Gary on, and he'll get to talk more about that, because it's his baby at the end of the day. I don't want to, do it an injustice by trying to say what it is and get it wrong. I can say what I think it is, but I won't bore you with that. But no, it's awesome. So like, this past show was great. We had some awesome matches top to bottom. The Chaos was awesome. Adomu from London Lucha League, he made his debut, and he had a hell of a debut. Great showing with Santeria, who's been a part of Lucha and a part of the pro wrestling scene for like well over
years.
A decade, for sure.
Billion years.
A billion jillion years. Well, he's a voodoo witch doctor, so he could have been here for a billion years. That was really good. Our tag match,
obviously.
I mean, I say I wasn't there. It was you and El Rey and Ansei the Spider versus Dark Britannico and that sexy devil Hombre del Roca.
Oh yeah,
just a handsome man.
Yeah, he's.
And when Cassius was the special guest referee in that match.
Yeah,
and it was just a very good, fun match. And then Disco Diablo main eventing, defending the championship for the first time against another member of the cult of Lucha Libre, in Jerry Bakewell. Jerry, been around, another guy, been around for a long time, well established, especially in Lucha Britannia.
2 billion years.
No, I'd say more closer to 3.
3
closer
billion
to
years.
3. He's a very old man. You should see how aged he is behind that mask. Weathered.
That's why he keeps it on.
Oh dear. But another great match, and Disco defends the belt and retained the belt, and we'll see what happens next month. But overall, I'd say really great show. So any thoughts on the Britannia show, or anything sort of that stood out to you that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, the Britannia show this month was like a lot of fun. Like, obviously when we were in the ring, we had Cassius as the special guest ref.
What do you mean when we were in the ring?
Yeah, like we, as in me and Cassius.
Oh, right, yeah, I wasn't there. I was at the bar. I was drinking with K-Rod.
Yeah, did you see that dickhead Hombre del Roca?
Yeah, he's sexy is what he is.
Oh,
Beautiful
yeah,
man.
Totally.
Yeah, he'd turn me.
He's a, what?
What? Oh, dear.
Yeah, he's a bastard.
No. I think that's enough out of you. But no, Britannia was great. What else did we have? We had the London Lucha League show, and that was just this past Friday.
Mm-hmm.
What were your thoughts on the London Lucha? I mean, we had the girls' main event. Let's talk about that straight away. I don't want to go into every single match because there was a lot of matches, and don't want to bore people with going through all of that. But we got to talk about the girls' match. Very good match. The two girls still fairly new to wrestling, so it was a big test for them. And I think it wasn't the perfect match by any means, but they held their own, and they did a good job in what I think was a tough spot, because by that point the crowd had kind of died down a little bit, and the show had gone a bit long as well. But I thought the girls did a very good job. Yeah,
I mean, like that main event, like for me, I mean, I tweeted about it afterwards that for me, them two are the future of women's wrestling, if you want to call it that, and just wrestling in general for me. Not even, I mean, I said it in the tweet, not just Brit wrestling, but the wrestling world in general. Them two have got both they got the capability to take over, and
I've just
own
realised
it.
we haven't actually said who they are for anyone who didn't know. It's Aaliyah
No,
James
let's keep
and
it quiet.
Clementine. Keep it a secret.
Go
so
watch the main event and
no
work
one
it out.
knows who was in the match. Yeah, no, it was Aaliyah James and Clementine.
It was me and you in wigs.
No, it wasn't. no, it was not. I'm not nearly athletic enough to be either of those two young women.
Obviously, like them two are two girls that are gonna take the wrestling world by storm, and it's just a matter of time till it's their oyster, man.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, Aaliyah James is now kind of getting out there a lot and making a name for herself.
Yeah, she's
absolutely killing it,
Mm.
and she's a hell of an athlete, and she's starting to get a good understanding of wrestling as well now, which is great. And then you look at Clementine. Clementine is like I've said it before, she's like the nicest human being in the world, but then she's also got really good character. So she knows her character. It's just a gimmick that will get over anywhere, like the ultimate babyface. And again, she's starting to find herself in the ring as well. Like, the match she had with Callum at the last show was just unbelievable, and like, he didn't carry her through that match by any means. Like, you know, he was the ring general, but he didn't carry her. She held her own in that match, and she more than held her own in there with Aaliyah James as well. And I thought both of these ladies did a great job, and further solidified by someone who I want to talk about in a second, who came up to me and said, Clementine is money. This person came up to me and they said, Clementine has a great gimmick. She will get out there very soon. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Who are you talking about?
I'll give you a clue. East!
East End Dad, Shah.
East End Dad,
Yeah, my
Shah
East End
Samuels, who was in the house at the London Lucha League. He came down to watch the show, ended up doing a little bit of commentary with his fellow East End Dad, the Pucker One, Greg Burridge. And they did commentary on a match between, I believe it was Murdoch and some green guy who no one's heard of.
Hella green.
Oh, hella green.
Money.
Who was it? Who was that guy? Was it?
About 6'1".
No,
hella
it's like
sexy.
a vanilla midget, I think.
A vanilla midget. Really?
Yeah.
All right, a vanilla midget. Totally.
Oh, mate. Yeah, no, it was you.
Oh shit.
Then, to be fair, it was, you know, I'll be honest with you. I'll level with you right now. I can't remember whether your match was any good or not because I was enjoying Uncle Shah and Greg too much.
Well, there
but
you go.
what I do remember about the actual match was an incredibly, shall we say, snug forearm into the face of one Murdoch. What the hell did he do to you? Like, I know you guys are having a match, but
He
Jesus.
spoke my name in vain, and that's what happens when you do that.
Well, there you have it. An exclusive. Never speak Malik's name in vain in front of him, or you will get your head knocked off
That's
by
it.
the heavy hitter. But yeah, Uncle Shah was there, and we also had some more guests. We had Connor Mills and the OJMO coming back again. This time running in on our little brother Callum. Attacking little brother Callum.
Not cool, man.
Not cool, bro.
So
It looks like they're teasing a little bit of a Knuckle-Ox Lucha feud going on. We had that show with them a little while ago.
Put a little something
out there on Twitter a while ago. People, you know,
having funny reactions.
You know, the way I see it, if they want it, then just bring it. They know where to come. Like, we're ready for a fight anytime they want it.
I mean, they've come to us a couple of times now. Maybe, you know,
Maybe we should step
maybe
up.
we need to
maybe,
make a trip somewhere.
There you go. I'm always down. I'm always down for a good fight.
No, I'm usually busy.
Oh,
Yeah, I like playing PlayStation.
I'll make time for a fight.
Oh, cool. You
Yeah.
go.
That's
you know,
90%
you
of
never
what.
know, you know.
How about tag team?
That is 90% of our
I'll go
tactic.
fight and
You
you
go
stand.
fight. I'll talk about fighting. I will stand here and talk about the fight, and then you go do
And
it.
I'll do it.
Yeah, sick. Yeah, you can go through the ladder this time. I'll tell you about that story another time, guys. But yeah, no, it was cool to see though. Knuckle-Ox and Lucha doing some stuff together again. I don't know if that's definitely the way it's going to go. Potentially, it could be. It'd be exciting. It'd be exciting if it is, because it's always fun to have like inter-promotional stuff. And you know, Ojmo and Mills are two of the best wrestlers in the country right now. I'd love seeing them do their thing, and you know, it'd be great. Whether it's us getting in there with them, or Bruno Brown, or Callum Newman, or Aaliyah James, or whoever, you know, it's cool to see people working with people who they might not normally get to work with at their training school.
Yeah, 100%. It's like with them guys coming in, I mean, obviously they got a bit of steam behind them, Ojmo in particular. So that brings eyes. But the thing is what I don't think people are recognizing is the crop of talent that we got right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the London School of Lucha, at the London School of Lucha Libre, and especially on the Lucha League shows as well. Is just like you come there one time, and there's a reason why every show is now a packed house, and why we had to move it from a student show into like a mainstream show in itself, because the talent is just too much.
We've got far too much. Like, look at it now. You've got 3 shows. You've got Lucha Britannia, the main show that's the mainstay of Lucha. You've got your London Lucha League, which, again, like you just said, started as a student show. Now it's its own main show, also on a Friday night now. And now you've got the family-friendly wrestling show, which is now the student show. And it's awesome. It's a great time to be at Lucha because you've got all of that. Like, you've got all of our guys that are out there right now as well who aren't even wrestling in Lucha anymore because, you know, they're on that level, like a Will Ospreay or a Cara Noir or a Nina Samuels or, you know, any of those guys.
Yeah, all
like,
in every top company.
It's crazy. Like, honestly, I genuinely believe, like, it's the best possible time to be at Lucha right now. It's like the atmosphere is amazing. We've got great people and, you know, I can't say enough good things about it. I know I'm biased. We're both a little biased. It's where, you know, we grew up in wrestling, but I don't care. It's home. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, like 100% everyone should go and learn from everywhere. Like me and you have done that as well. And we should pick up tricks and things from everywhere. But at the end of the day, home is where the heart is, isn't it? So,
absolutely.
So, like, that's...
And it's the same for like, the Knuckle Locks guys.
Yeah.
Because, like, they've come and done the odd session or, like, stints at Lucha as well. But for them, Knuckle Locks is their home and they're passionate about that. And that's, like, awesome. But for us, it's Lucha and it's just different wherever you go. But like you just said, you should go and train at as many different places as you can. But I also think you should have, like, that one home-based school that, like, that's the place that you will credit as the place that taught you.
That made you.
Yeah. I don't think that's a bad thing to have at all. And
no, you should.
But again, you should also train in as many places and learn from as many different people as you can. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking on that. Trying to think what else happened. What else stood out to you on the London Lucha League show?
I mean, that day was a bit hectic for me. We went out that
night.
Why?
What did you... Oh, yeah, we went out that night. I legit forgot about that for a second. I forgot that was the same night. Yeah, we went out that night, and there are some more Malik mysteries. Oh, by the way, so we haven't... I don't think I named it on the first show, so it is officially called Malik Mysteries. But we'll get to that a little bit later on, because, you know, we don't want to talk too much about that. But before I get to the big part of this show, there's one final thing about the Lucha League show that we haven't brought up yet, that I got to bring up.
What's that?
VAR.
Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ.
So, the team known as Evanly United, whose gimmick is that they're footballers, they utilised VAR in a wrestling match after losing the tag team titles, have managed to get the decision reversed thanks to the use of VAR, and it was very entertaining, and I hope they do more of that, quite honestly.
Really? You hope they do more? That stuff is ruining football, and now you want it to come ruin wrestling as well?
Nobody watches football. Football's... No one enjoys it. It's not good. It's just men kicking a ball and getting paid way too much money to do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah,
but
I'm right.
And they use VAR.
Yeah, but VAR in wrestling... Think about this, right? How many famous, like, of your favourite matches would be switched on a reverse decision if we'd had VAR?
Yeah, can you imagine?
Could you imagine? Hogan would probably still be champion.
Eddie Guerrero would never had a career.
Yeah. Like cheating and stealing.
That would have been out the window.
Oh my God, yeah. See? He's lucky. Lucky VAR weren't around back in like 05. Mate, honestly. He'd never become champion, but thankfully he did. Viva la raza. But yeah, VAR, that was amazing. But now it's time. I think, you know, we've talked enough about Lucha League and family friendlies and Britannia and whatnot. Let's get to it. Let's get to the main part of this show. Ladies and gentlemen, you are about to hear my soothing voice once again, but from the past. Time travel, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to the future. Or back to now.
Back to the...
Now.
2 weeks ago. You're going to hear my voice talking to the scummy Essex voice of one Tom Dawkins, a.k.a. current Progress champion, aka one of the very best wrestlers that this country has ever produced, Cara Noir. There we go. I think we're going.
So I don't know how you want to do this.
Well, I don't really like the whole "Hi, how are you?" Like, it's been so long.
Has it?
Yeah.
Has it?
Well,
been
I mean,
really?
that's not what I was getting at, but yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, how are you?
Oh, so you just said, I don't want to do it.
Well, you started it now.
And then you go, how I'm doing.
You opened. You started it.
How are you doing?
I'm good. It's about you, though. How are you?
I'm alright. A bit tired.
What have you done lately? You've been a bit quiet.
Yeah,
Not
no,
done much.
I haven't got anything going on in my life
No.
at the minute.
I suppose you should probably say who you are first. Who are you?
I assume this would you've set this up or gone.
Yeah, we'll edit it in post. This is
And-
Cara
and-
Noir, by the way, just for the record. Can you tell I'm winging it?
Yeah, I can tell.
Oh, good.
Well, it's not Cara Noir. You're interviewing Tom Dawkins.
Oh, sorry.
Who performs as Cara Noir.
Right.
There we go.
Would you like to explain the difference to people who might not know?
Well, Cara doesn't talk, but Tom Dawkins does, luckily. So otherwise, this would be a very, very boring podcast.
Yeah, it would be pretty silent.
Yeah.
I'm sure I've heard Cara speak at least once. Has he ever cut a promo?
No,
Or just said anything?
I had a few ideas where I could, back when I was first forming the character, where I was thinking I could kind of like high-pitched screams at one point.
I remember, well, you always do the scream, didn't you, when you go into the corner and like start licking people?
Yeah, screaming.
Sorry, not you, Cara.
Cara, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's like talking to The Rock. The ego of you.
You can say you, that's fine.
So it is you.
It's part of me, yeah.
Well, make up your mind.
But, best way to think about it is when you, interview an actor, or, you don't talk about...
Hang on. For the record, Tom is putting on his serious I'm an artist voice now. Go on, carry on.
Yeah, you don't, talk to them as if they're the character they've portrayed. So that's the reason why I don't know. There's a difference. If I live my life, pretending I was Cara, I wouldn't stand at the merch stand. I wouldn't talk to people after the show. I wouldn't interact with fans. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't go to. I wouldn't have Twitter.
Well, speaking of Twitter, you only follow one person on Twitter, and that's... Cara only follows one person on Twitter. Has it changed now? At one point, it was Cher.
Yeah.
And then you followed Mike Bird for a little while.
And Cassius.
For
a bit.
Who are you following now? Who's your
I've gone
one?
back to Cher.
Oh, back to Cher.
Yeah,
Okay,
no.
she's back in.
Back in, yeah.
So why is it... So, like, you followed Cassius and Mike Bird, assumingly for feud purposes.
Yes.
So, what qualifies them to be followed? Like, you feuded with loads of people. Why didn't you follow them? And why did you choose those particular feuds to follow those people?
Cassius was a slight foreshadowing of an upcoming match that we were going to have. So that's kind of why I thought it was important to follow Cassius, to give people a general idea that potentially might happen. Mike Bird, I guess, Cara as the character is kind of watching from a distance, and I think that's quite frightening.
Yeah, I mean, it'd freak me out if you suddenly started following me.
Yeah, and you're the only person.
Yeah, if I'm the only person, it's a strange thing to do.
Exactly. If you unfollow everyone on Twitter, your newsfeed becomes very singular, and it's really.
I got to ask that. How many people were paranoid, and messaged you "Oh my god, you unfollowed me. What did I do?"
Oh well,
Did you get anything like that out of curiosity? Because I feel like a lot of people might be paranoid and just be like, "Oh my god, I've pissed someone off. Like, I've been unfollowed."
I didn't have anyone. I don't think I had anyone ask me. But I think when they realised that I was only following Cher
Gave the game
or
away a
one
bit,
person,
of
I
what-
think
yeah.
people realised that it wasn't just, heat.
Fair enough. Well, speaking of heat, that links into wrestling talk, a little more. I'm not going to... So I wasn't going to ask you, like, where you started and all that, because I know all of that. But I did, like, purely just so I could see
Yeah,
if I
they
could
know
find...
you, but yeah.
No, I know the audience, but also the main reason I didn't want to ask that was because I'm sure you've done other podcasts and, like, you're going to do other podcast stuff now where you'll get, like, generic sort of interview questions, so I wasn't going to. But the reason I'm leading into this is because I just thought, I'm going to just look on the internet, see if I can find any interesting Tom facts that I might not even know that might just be out there.
Go on.
And I went on, the Cage Match website.
Yeah, which hasn't got hardly any of the,
Yeah,
previous
but
stuff
it's
I
got
ever
like
did.
most matches and stuff on it. But then it says who you're trained by, and it just popped me because I know it's not true. I don't know if you're
Zack
aware
Sabre
of what it
Jr.
said.
Is that one of them?
The ones
that crops
I
up
think
every
it
now
said
and then?
Zack Sabre Jr. and Terry Fraser and the former team of the London Riots. It says you were trained by the IPW training school. Would you like... So purely because I know that's not true, I will ask you to clarify where you've been trained.
So unfortunately I wasn't trained by Zack Sabre Jr. That would have been
Would have been good, that.
maybe a better training system than I originally was. But I tend not to name the company.
Yeah, I know.
But John Ritchie was the first person who trained me, which was kind of right up my alley, really, because it was a combination of essentially, technical wrestling and shoot wrestling. So we'd always play around with the two, which really confused the hell out of me for months, to be like, oh well, when does one work and when does the other one work? The school that I trained at, I try not to name for whatever reason is my own.
I know your reason.
But anyway, John Ritchie was the one that originally trained me, and I like the style between technical wrestling and shoot wrestling, and that really resonated with me because of the background in different martial arts, and it kind of made sense really of the performed aspect, and that I actually can move people around the ring. I don't have to just be really delicate with everyone all the time. And then it wasn't really until maybe a year and a half in, the next person I would consider that really kind of took me under their wing training wise was Carl Kramer, who used to make me sit and watch matches of his and other performers when I'd have a dreadful match, which is the best thing that that ever happened. And he was the first person that kind of sat me down and kind of explained why you did things and when you did them and the meaning of the intent of a move, rather than just stacking moves together because that's what you think wrestling is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I left that training system and that particular company that I got stuck in for 3 years, all because I credit Pete Dunne for this, because he said, no one knows who you are in the country. If you want to wrestle, you just need to leave and wrestle everywhere else. So I did, which was really frightening, to leave a system that you can get regular work with to go into a world of nothing. But Carl invited me up to train with the Knights, and then at the same time, literally that week, I did a weekend training school with the Knights, and Ricky and Julia were very complimentary. And on the Wednesday, I walked into the London School of Lucha Libre, into the advanced class, which I don't think at the time Gary or Greg were overly pleased that this new person showed up in their Pro Wednesday. But I remember doing the first we did the warm up, which was a bit of a shock to the system from the different styles that I'd learned. And then
so just to clarify for anybody listening who doesn't know what the Lucha warm-up is, it's basically a big sweaty rave in the Resistance Gallery, which I'm sure most people know of, and yeah, it's just crazy compared to what we were doing before, where it was just like running around a gym, touching the floor and jumping up and clapping and doing some press-ups.
Yeah, it went from doing drills to actually... It kind of made sense because I realised that, okay, it's the London School of Lucha Libre and it's a performance... it's called the Resistance Gallery, so they understand the essence of performance. And it reminded me of a really, like, intense drama class where you're trying to get loose and shake it out and actually relax into your body and also get warm at the same time. So it kind of, was like, this is weird, but it made me feel slightly at home because of the years of, dance and drama and stuff like that. But yeah, I remember doing the first international, which was a Lucha National, which is a slight variation on the international.
Yeah.
And we did it, and Gary shouted out, "Oh, we've got some athletes in the room." So I realised, oh, okay, they're not actually that upset that I just turned up on their Pro Wednesday.
Yeah, I think it's just a thing of, a complete stranger who they've never met before turning up on what's essentially the pro class. It's like, oh, who are you?
Yeah.
But obviously you being you, once you go in there and show them, oh, well, I can actually do some stuff, of course it's going to go down well, and the rest is kind of history for you at Lucha, really. I mean, how long did it take you? It didn't take long before you got given the Pure Britannico gimmick.
Yeah, I think... I'm not sure exactly. Timelines are fuzzy. I'm sure I've got it written down somewhere in my wrestling booking sheets. But I think it might be maybe 4 or 5 months before I did my first show at the London School of Lucha Libre as Pure Britannico. I did a lot of...
Well, I know you started coming Lucha around beginning of 2014, maybe, something like that.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's kind of the figure, right? Because I only know that because I came not long later, about 5-6 months.
I do remember when the debut was. It was in August because that was when the fire happened, and it was the day of the fire.
That was my first ever Lucha Britannia show. It was the day of the fire. Yeah, that was a smelly day in the Rescal.
Well, it's really upsetting because I'd been training there for probably about 6 months by that point, and then you walk in and then the whole place is pretty much burnt down, and then they were still like, we're still running the show, and I was like, how?
Did it though?
How are you going to run the show? So we were there for like 4 hours, 5 hours before the show, trying to tidy up, and I just remember thinking the whole time, all my gear is white. It was like white tights, white kick pads, white elbow pads, white knee pads, white everything, except the mask was like glittery.
You didn't wrestle though on that one, did you?
No, I didn't. I just literally did an appearance. I did like a run-in appearance, and got in between
Paul and Will.
Yes, who were Dark Britannico and Leon Britannico.
That's the one.
And
I mean that right there. Okay, so hang on a minute. So you, Paul, and Will right there were the 3 Britannico brothers for a while. Mm-hmm. Right now, you've got you, the Progress champion. You got Paul Robinson, the Proteus champion.
Yep.
And then Will Ospreay's just won the Rev Pro title. Like, it's just it kind of hit me like the other week. I remember like seeing that photo of you and Paul doing the TalkSport thing, both holding the Progress belts. And I was like, that's really cool. Like, because for me, I've always said for a long time, like, you and Paul are the 2 best non-signed talents in the country right now. And then seeing both of you holding those belts, I was like, that's a really cool sort of moment. And the icing on the cake, as you pointed out, that Paul pointed out, you're both from Essex. Just so strange and just kind of surreal. And like, again, and throw Will in the mix as well, another Essex boy with one of the main belts of indie Brit Rest, and he's also signed to New Japan as well. But does any of that kind of like sit with you and like make you think about how like cool these sort of things are, or do you just not really think about it?
On reflection now, I have been thinking about I haven't seen really Will for a long time actually, maybe a year or so, but yeah, it's really cool to think that. Well, it's really nice to think that when we were, I was asked to be part of the Britannicos, which were like these pure luchadors. It was really cool at the time to be kind of guided by Paul and Will, because they were traveling together and tagging together and having these like crazy tag matches, and to kind of get to be in the ring with them at the time and to see how they work and how they structure things kind of blew my mind, because it's very different from the world of sport wrestling that we were originally taught. But now in reflection, it's really cool to think that
just like what
these three guys are now.
It's like when we first came up, it was just high spots. We weren't really taught what high spots actually were. It was just, this is wrestling, this is what wrestling is. It's all just wrestling. And then we would kind of, in a way, look down our nose at people who were doing cool, flashy moves. It was like, oh, they're just spot monkeys.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us were ever said that, but it was just kind of like the logic that was put in our heads.
Well, that was the implication.
And then you go and see that, and you realise, oh, actually, they're geniuses. Like, they're really fucking good.
Yeah, and then like being in the ring with both of them, and then also being in the car with a lot of both of them, and travelling to shows, made me realise the world of opportunity that we, and the things that we could do. I think, I got stuck in the idea of wrestling was, a way, like one way of doing it, and then being with them and working with Gary and Greg, I realised that, it's actually none of these things, and I can do whatever I want, because it is a performance. I think it was liberating to work with Will and Paul and Gary and Greg for the sheer fact that they allowed me to do things like go up to the top rope, because I was banned from going to the top rope LDN, because that was what someone else did. You can't do flying. Someone else does flying on the show already. I'm like, well, what? But yeah, so I wanted to do all of these things, but wasn't allowed. But yeah, no, it's really cool that the three guys, kind of the Britannicos group, have now kind of evolved and found their own feet. Paul has gone on the path that he has, and Will has gone on the path that he has. And at the same time, all three of us are now champions in the biggest companies in the country.
Yeah, the two biggest indie companies in the country.
Yeah, which is incredible.
It's amazing. I know, like, the atmosphere at Lucha right now, just based on stuff like that. Like, people are talking about it all the time. Like, oh my god, like, these guys. Paul, I suppose, wasn't trained at Lucha, but he's looked upon as a Lucha original.
Yeah.
And then Will obviously was trained from the beginning at Lucha, and then yourself, like you've already said how you got there. But it's like, it's a cool thing, because people can now look at Lucha and say, when somebody says, okay, when you look up a school, you need to know what that school have actually got to their credit. Why would I want to train there? Well, the top three names right there are Paul Robinson, Will Ospreay, Tom Dawkins. But then you also, like, there's loads more as well. Like Nina Samuels is doing great as well now in NXT. And then even people who aren't necessarily signed to places, like Cassius is now starting to get out there and do great stuff. Like, there's loads of us, but just like you three alone, like that's all the resume you need, and it's bringing more people in, and especially people who might not necessarily have wanted to train at Lucha before, not because of anything in particular, but just because they thought, like they've got Lucha is its specific style, it's Lucha Libre, I don't want to do Lucha Libre. Well, we don't just do Lucha Libre, and the proof's in the pudding, because we got, like, there's three guys out there right now who, can do way more than just that. And like, you're so different in styles as well. Like, you compare the way you work now as Cara Noir to a Will Ospreay, it's two totally different styles of in-ring work. Which it just kind of blows my mind a bit.
It's the same with Paul as well. Like, he works very differently to how he was working as Leo Britannico, and I think I've gone on a very different path, but I can still do put it this way, I don't fly in my head as doing like, you know, dives or coming off the top, but I do them when it's right. So not every match has them in. It's only when it's kind of right to do. I know I do the Sasuke special, but I've only done it like a handful of times.
Yeah, because you as a character, you don't need to do that so much. So I've heard you say on multiple occasions, "I'm just an entrance." You're not. Like, you're not just like to a degree. I get what you mean, because the reason someone's drawn to Cara Noir, I feel, is that once you've seen the entrance, it's like, oh my god, I have to look at this guy. But if you were just an entrance, after that entrance, people would go, okay, and just turn away, and that would be that. But because you can also hold your own in the ring, like, well, you know, that's putting it mildly, but because you can go with just pretty much anybody in the ring and put on a great match, that's the real appeal. Because it's like, yeah, the entrance is the draw, but it's harder to keep them drawn in than it is to actually draw them in. And you're able to do both, as are all of those guys, which is kind of the beauty of it.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point with the idea of I'm just an entrance, but...
those are your words, not mine. That's what you've always said. I'm just an entrance.
But now thinking about the entrances, for the people that have first seen it for the first time or heard about it, it's kind of like, yeah. They're like, yeah, it's an entrance. Are they? Maybe until they see it live, I think it's kind of...
Okay.
It doesn't always connect.
Say, like...
They think it's interesting, because I've been listening to... I don't know, I'm always aware of how the audience perceive it, and I think they see the entrance, and if it's live, they connect with it, and then it's kind of like, oh, okay, there's this guy that does this great entrance, and if you're a wrestling fan, or you know, you assume that if someone's got a really good gimmick, they're not the best wrestler, because not to sound horrible, but that normally is the case.
Yeah, that's the typical thing of like, most people are good at one area of wrestling. You very rarely get someone who is like, I won't say a crossbreed, but you know, like a good mix of everything.
Yeah, a hybrid of it.
Yeah, a hybrid, that's the word.
And I think being able to then do the entrance and then convert the audience into bit like, oh, okay, he can wrestle, and he does it in his own way. I think it kind of surprises them and disarms them, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. It's weird because, like, for me, I it's a weird thing that you said that, because I suppose I agree to an extent, because it's like, I've seen I've seen the entrance live way too many times at this point, but even I say that, every time I see it, it's still, I never don't enjoy it. It's always great. Especially like as it's now getting put on bigger stages. Like, I've seen the clips of it. I wasn't there, I didn't get to see it live, but I've seen the clips of when you came out at Ali Pali, and it was like, that's where this entrance should have been years ago. But you know, it is what it is. But you're there now, and it's all about timing, which, you know, we can get to in a minute. But
that's why I designed it. That's why the entrance. So when I originally took the risk of changing characters, and it was a risk. Many people wanted to see me foul. I could feel it, and that's kind of the energy that I always go with. Anytime I walk through the curtain, especially like now holding the Progress title or Attack title, people, I feel that I walk through and people want to see me foul, because everyone wants to see people foul, because then they'd be like, oh, he's not as good as, and that energy drives me, and that's what drove me to do the first character. The first time I did the character was I could not foul, because everyone would be like, he cannot get out of his little box.
Yeah.
He's just this uncharismatic black belt character.
Yeah, because how long was it?
Or,
like, for all those years, everyone was saying, you know, a lot of people at least were saying that you didn't have charisma, you couldn't show personality, but to a degree it was because you were like, you just had this very vanilla character.
Yeah, and people laughed at it. There's a show I did in Colchester that when I first walked out, people giggled because they knew the black belt character, and then I came out as this a completely different entity, and you could hear people nervous laughing because they didn't know what they were experiencing, and then it laughing turned into, oh wow, that was really cool, but claps, and then it's taken 3 years to kind of get people to start to get it, and
but it's trial and error though. It's
yeah,
like you've tried loads, even just
perfect.
with Cara Noir, you've tried like loads of different things to, I don't want to say like just get attention, but to a degree to get attention, because it's like so. But it's all stuff that in your mind, at least, I assume makes sense for the character and stuff that.
Where the character is now is nowhere near how it was. It's kind of fully formed itself.
Like we spoke recently about like the eggs thing. Like you did the eggs and it was shock value and it was cool and it did get you noticed by a few places and you did it in a fair few places. Now you don't need to do it anymore, and because now if ever you do decide to do it anymore, it's more special now. Because it's like, oh my god, we remember him. He did that on a small show like years ago, and other people who might not have ever seen it will be like just blown away because it's like, oh my god, what is he doing?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to, and I still do. I want to see how far I can push wrestling as an art form, and I think that using the eggs was a let's just see if something worked, and I love the first match that I ever did with the eggs because it went from this ridiculous over-the-top comedy structure match to like a real fight feel to this setup with the egg and then the payoff with the egg where
that was the match with Stakely Bakewell.
That's the match with Stakely Bakewell,
which is available online at YouTube's Lucha Britannia's YouTube page. That's a cheap plug for Lucha Tubes.
It's good, and then it kind of leads into the ridiculous reaction from the eggs, and then all of a sudden it gets really violent and really nasty, and there's people crying in the front row, and it was really quite emotive at the end.
Yeah,
and really
I remember.
Villainous finish. I don't want to ruin it if you're ever going to go watch it, but for the live audience, they were genuinely upset with the way the match ended, and I like that. I took them on this ridiculous roller coaster, and I don't. Yeah, going back to the idea of that, the entrance and the original reason why I designed it and had it in my head was because doing it at Alexandra Palace, I was like, this is why I've done it. This is exactly how I envisioned it in a stadium or like a huge building with lights and this. This is how I, no disrespect to doing it in sports halls where I have done it, but this is how I envisioned it. And when I got back and I watched like hand-filmed footage from that had been shot from the back of the room, I remember watching the entrance and just welling up because I was like, well, it's taken 3 years, but this is why I've done it.
Yeah. No, it did. It looked amazing. So the first time I ever saw it, obviously, was at Britannia. Mm-hmm. I remember saying, I think I even said it to you, like it was like watching a Disney like villain having like their singular moment where like Scar has his like big song in The Lion King.
Yeah.
It felt kind of like that watching that as a kid. It's like, oh my god, this is like, it's drawing me in, but I'm kind of scared, but it's like, it's awesome and it's great. And then seeing like the footage of it at Ali Pali was incredible as well. But just going back to like the previous point where you were saying about people who like might just see it online, might not like it as much or whatever. It's like I kind of get it to a degree because it's like if you watch it on video, it does look like a cool entrance, but nothing does quite equate to watching it live. And the closest thing I can think of to compare it to is like The Undertaker. Like you hear a lot of people talk about how there's nothing like being at The Undertaker's entrance live. And for me, on like the independent British wrestling scene, there's nothing like seeing a Cara Noir entrance live. No one else has an entrance like yours, and it's just that's the part of the show that I know is going to draw me in, and then you're going to keep me drawn in by having an amazing match.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's a crazy compliment, but that's kind of the image that I had.
Look, I'm not going over the top. I'm not saying you're as good as The Undertaker.
No, I'm not saying that. I agree. But my point
I don't want to put you over too much now, Jesus.
But my point is...
Ego. But no, it's cool. Like, going sort of back on to the lucha thing and like that match in particular, I put that over actually on the first episode. As for me, that's one of the best matches I've watched live. Not even just at lucha, just in general. Like it was just really enjoyable, and I knew what you were gonna do with like the eggs thing like beforehand, because obviously me and you riding together, and I remember you mentioning it to me, and it was just a classic example. And you'll see where I'm going with this. For me, that eggs thing was a classic example of Tom being so excited about something ridiculous, but then not really caring about much else after. Because I remember you mentioning it to me and just telling me it, and me looking at you really confused, and you just having this look of annoyed disappointment that I wasn't as excited about it as you were.
Yeah.
But it was just an interesting and different thing. But then seeing it live was just, it was crazy.
I have it all the time. I have these ideas, and then I realise, how am I going to pitch them to someone else?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really difficult, and that, like Stakely Bakewell is a great example of someone that I just checked in beforehand and said, I've got this idea. Would you feel comfortable doing something with eggs? And he just went, yep.
I would have been more shocked if he'd said no, if I wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting having to pitch some of the stuff that I do to people. Now, not everyone's as open as
yeah, I mean, I'll throw it out there. I wouldn't want you to put like spit raw egg in my mouth.
Well, I don't expect
anyone, I don't expect
everyone
you to sit here and say, name names of who wouldn't, but I'll name myself. I wouldn't want it in my mouth.
Yeah, and that's fair. Like it's
gross.
You have to be a willing participant to everything that I do. There's a very few people that have kind of. I think one of my favourite ones was Sue Young at Riptide. Now, I'd met her before, and she's very different from her character and how she portrays herself, and I remember just talking to her and saying, oh, okay, yeah, I've got some really interesting ideas, and I'd like to do something with a bicycle. And she was like, yeah, that's cool. She was like, I'd like to do this. And then I said, I've got this thing where I lick people, but I don't have to do that with you. And she's like, no, that's fine. I was like, okay, I've got this thing that I do with an egg, if you're really interested. And I explained the concept. She was like, yeah, no, that sounds really good. And I'm like, oh God. And then, what was it? And then I was like, yeah, and I can also, I don't know, I go to lick you and you grab my tongue. And then I realised what sort of level I'm working with Sue, when I said, oh yeah, you can grab my tongue. And she was like, oh yeah, and what I can do is spit blood in your mouth. And I was like, yes, you can. This is...
that reminds me of when you wrestled Ibushi.
Yes.
So that was like very early doors Cara Noir, right?
That maybe like early. A few months in.
Yeah,
maybe.
And I remember him specifically, you coming up to me and laughing, and you telling me that you had he wanted to do the thing with the car. I think he wanted to get run over originally.
Yeah, he wanted to get run over. Yeah.
And then you told him, no, you should get run over. And then he looked at you, and what were his words, Tom?
He said, "You're crazy."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kota Ibushi called you crazy.
But I thought it was funnier for me to get hit by the car that Jimmy was driving.
Can I also a little backstory just on that? This is the Jimmy Havoc's actual vehicle. There's videos of it online if anyone wants to go and look it up, from the XWA show at the Resgal. And Jimmy Havoc accidentally on purpose runs over you. Mm-hmm. And what was the one thing Jimmy asked you not to do if you could avoid it?
Don't break his windscreen.
What did you do, Tom?
I broke his windscreen.
Yeah, you did.
But it's really hard to get hit by a car.
No,
and try not to break the windscreen.
I can't say I've ever intentionally stood there and let a car run me over. So
yeah. Now that was, I've done some silly things in wrestling, and everything I feel that's quite calculated. And I remember when he drove at me and realising that, oh God, he's driving really fast. This is a lot quicker than I thought this was going to be, because you can't rehearse this. And I was just like, but yeah, there's a really nice picture where I'm shattering the glass and it looks like I'm clotheslining the car, which is
well, do it, work for the gram, right? Work for the Instagram shot.
Yeah. But yeah, that was that was a match of experience because it was on another level. And then watching Ihashi and Kota did the match the night before with boxing gloves and bicycles, hence where the bicycle with Su Yung comes from.
Yeah.
I was kind of in awe of the craziness. So you can really blame a combination of Ihashi, Jimmy Havoc, and Ibushi to really why the egg started to happen.
Hang on now. Don't be passing the buck to people and blaming them for you being a psycho.
No.
Being a bit crazy. Like, you know, don't be putting that on them.
No, actually, to be fair, the eggs don't come from them, but a lot of the crazy ideas that I come up with are kind of stolen from performance artists in London, particularly, and I wouldn't really ever have the chance to see them unless, you know, my partner Claire Heffer really knows the scene and brings me to these really obscure things, and I come out and going, oh, I could do this. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Or I can take this concept and put this into wrestling.
Yeah.
I've recently seen and have been. I've worked with, Brian Duffy. We did a workshop, and Claire did a workshop with him. I did a private workshop with him on mime because I was quite interested in how to use mime as a way for Cara to do promos. It's a bit conceptual at the minute. I really don't know how to use it, but I've got a few ideas, and it'd be really interesting to kind of create promos that can speak to the entire world rather than one language. So yeah, I've always got mental ideas that something may happen. You know,
I think that's like going way back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Like this, how you was like so in a bubble with like what you thought wrestling could be when you first started, and what you were told wrestling is and should be, compared to where you're at now, where it's like you're literally able to take ideas from all different things that you would have never even thought. Yeah, I can take something from that and put it in how I wrestle, or how I do an entrance, or how I do a promo, or whatever it might be. And that's essentially what wrestling is at the end of the day. It's everything. Like, you can take from every part of the world and find a way of making it wrestling if you're good enough and you can do it. And you've been able to do that with a lot of stuff. Yeah,
and I think I realised this talking to you literally a few days ago, that the whole non-verbal communication idea that I have with Cara works because I did my first like training show with the Knights. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, we can swear. Go for it.
And I did the match, and I came back, and then Ricky Knight came back to the changing room, and he doesn't tend to say.
Hang on. I want to throw this out there. Just can you do it in a Ricky Knight voice?
No, I can't.
Oh, come
that
on.
would be it would be very disrespectful for me to even try. No.
I've done my impression of the Knights in front of the Knights. It's not disrespectful at all.
Yeah, sure.
They love it.
Yeah, but I can't do one, so.
Oh yeah, fair enough.
So he came backstage and said, "Oh yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. But do me a favour, just shut the fuck up." Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. And he was right. It's not my strong suit, and I was relying on it like a camp show, like trying to get people involved by chanting stupid things and using like really old cliches.
Easy.
Yeah, not necessarily that, but I'm sure I had worse.
Yeah, well, there's my old favourite of yours.
What was that?
Black Belt Rocks.
Oh yeah, that's rubbish, right?
That was the worst thing ever.
It's rubbish. Do you want to give context to what?
No,
that is?
come on. It was your gimmick. You tell the story. Why did you used to say Black Belt Rocks, Tom?
We all used to use bad things, and it was It was a really rubbish trick that I would shout out that I would rock, like black belt rocks, and then look at an audience member and point at them and say, "What? You said that I sucked?" And then essentially every time I shout black belt rocks, they shout black belt sucks, which was a really like ridiculous cheap trick that I'm sure would never work in any of the places that I wrestle now.
I think you should try on the next ballroom show, Cara rocks. Just see what happens.
How would I do that?
Just throw it at the wall. See what sticks.
Yeah, completely.
Just
destroy my
don't know till you
credibility
didn't
by
know
talking.
the eggs would work till you tried.
Yeah, sure. Sure.
How much is it going to take for you to do that?
I'm just not.
How much of a bribe? The day I see that happen in a progress ring, that'll be the day.
Yeah, no. But yeah, speaking of being in a progress ring, really, that's mad. Now that you think about it. It's really mad.
Like, I remember when it got announced, like, it was cool for me because I saw it got announced that you were in the natural progression and Malik was in the natural progression.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, it's two of my closest friends. I was like, that's awesome. And we are friends, by the way. I can already feel your eyes telling me, don't say we're friends. No, we're friends. You know we're friends. You wouldn't have agreed to do this podcast with me if we weren't friends.
Just feel sorry for you.
No, you don't. You love me. Claire, he loves me, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, see.
We've edited you out. You're not in the room.
No, she's in the room again now. But anyway, so seeing you and Malik get announced was really cool. And I've said it to him as well. Like, as cool as it was seeing him get announced, it was much cooler seeing you get announced, because it was like, for ages, so many of us have been saying, like, you should be here, you should be there, like, you should be on this platform, you should be on that platform. And finally, it's like it was coming to fruition. And it was just so cool to see it. And then seeing all of, like, how it all went and the feedback and everything that came from it. It's just been... I mean, how has it been for you? Like, for me, just looking at it, it's been non-stop, and it's been, you literally went natural progression, match with Pete Dunne, series with Ilya, now you're the champion. That's a lot to happen in what is it, like 5 months? It was September.
It's 5 months.
Yeah, 5 months. That's a lot. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it has. It's been. It was just it's a bit of a whirlwind, really. Like, I really don't know how to still really think about it, how to kind of what to kind of take from it, other than it has changed everything. It has changed how people perceive me, and how it's changed. It's essentially validated 10 years of work.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And I think that's really what the reaction of the ballroom when I won the title, I think that's what it was. I don't think, because there are a lot of people that only watch Progress, but there also is a lot of people in that audience have watched me at Lucha Forever 3 years ago, and have seen me at Lucha Britannia, or have seen me at all these different promotions, Hope Wrestling, where I would have these ridiculous main event matches with Chris Tyler and Ryan Smiles and Kip and I think that it was a kind of like a culmination of 10 years work. But there's no way that this last 5 months would have happened, I think, without the 10 years worth of work, because I would have outthought it. I would have walked in and thought, oh my god, this is Progress, which you see a lot of people do when they do their dark matches for Progress. They get so nervous, and you can see them backstage, and it's not necessarily, it's just because they realise it's an opportunity. And for me, I realised it was an opportunity, but I felt so prepared for it, almost over prepared. So when I walked in, I wasn't worried about wrestling Dan Maloney, because I knew it would be an incredible match. I wasn't worried about wrestling Scotty Davis, because I wrestled him before and it was an incredible match. I wasn't worried about wrestling Pete Dunne, because I'd wrestled him 10 years ago.
That match is also on YouTube, I believe, isn't it?
Yeah, it's still on YouTube.
Yeah. That, oh my god, you can go back and watch that and hear him shout, "Black belt rocks."
Yeah, you can.
You can. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Full circle.
Yeah, we brought it
Seamless.
Like we planned it.
With my hundreds of notes.
Yeah, but yeah, so I'd had this 10 years of work beforehand, so I kind of felt really comfortable, essentially walking into Progress and showing them what I can offer their company. And I think the best thing that they ever did for me, yes, it was, partnering with me, Peter Ali Pali, but more so I think now is the series with Ilya, because they gave me the most, I think one of the most creative performers that they could have ever given me, and someone that was willing to, I had no idea what to expect wrestling him. I'd seen his work, but I didn't expect that we would create the level of storytelling that we did, and tell it over 3 matches. And I think I owe a lot to Ilya for that, because there's, I could have just came in and done exhibitions, and I don't know whether they would have got over as well as the story of me and him told.
Yeah. Well, see, I remember when you told me that you and Ilya were going to do a series, I legit just thought to myself, that's perfect, because I wasn't even thinking, of who the match was with and anything like that. I just knew giving you a series of someone was genius, because it's that's something you can sink your teeth into. And being an artistic person, that's what you thrive on. It's like having a great match is, okay, yeah, that's great, that's fun, but, there's nothing to get you that excited about past the actual match itself.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, you'll be, I know you, and I'm very much the same, and I know so many people who are. It's like when you know you're building to something, it's like you'll be at home and you're like, oh my god, you're constantly thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's an off switch as well, but to a degree there's not, because you'll be playing PlayStation and just all of a sudden an idea's there. It's like, pause game, wait, hang on, I just got to think this through. And yeah, I can imagine that that's exactly how you were during that whole series.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time it's trust as well. I kind of trust that he would always come to the table with ideas, and I always come to the table with ideas, and we kind of creatively discuss what would get the best reaction. And I love the fact with working with Ilya particularly, because he does what I do. In not every wrestler does this, but most of them do. But he listens to the crowd and is confident enough to change things in the match that we've kind of structured. One of my favourite moments was the finish of the 3rd series, because we did this crazy exchange of clotheslines and knocking each other down, and went to clothesline each other with a double line and run into a hug, and then he pulls out slowly of the hug, kisses me on the forehead, and we had this extra bit in the match, and we were going to do a few more things, and then he just looked at me and went, "Pile driver?" And I went, "Yep." And that was the finish, and that was the perfect way to end that series of matches. If we'd have done more, it would still have been great, but I think that was the way to end it, and there's not many people that I feel confident to just change things in the middle of the match with. Peter's another example, someone that I could happily just throw things together and go out and kind of wing it and have an amazing match with. But yeah, so yeah, regarding the last 6 months, 5 months, I just feel kind of lucky, really, because there's a lot of work involved and 10 years of work, but it's only because someone said, actually, we can do something with him. Otherwise, I probably would have to be winding down now.
Yeah. Well, you hear we're all guilty of it in wrestling, where it's things take too long or whatever, and people, you'll get a bit down and we have a bit of a moan about, oh, why am I not getting opportunities? Why is this guy above me and blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm sure you have, you know, been like that or felt like that or even expressed that. I mean, I know we've expressed stuff like that to each other in the past, but even in knowing that and being that way, you've always kind of been the type of person to just get on with it. It's like focus on you and just get better anyway. So it's like you can't dwell too much on what other people are doing, and like whereas where you were so focused on what you're doing and you got yourself to where you are now, it's like it was all just a matter of timing, essentially. Like, as much as, you know, we can all sit here and say, oh, well, he should have been there 2 years ago. Well, would it have been as good 2 years ago?
Yeah, it wouldn't have been.
No, absolutely it wouldn't have been.
It wouldn't have been. It's kind of like...
It means more now, because...
Use the PlayStation mentality, like, you know, point earlier. But it is. It's like playing a game that, like if you've ever played a role-play game or a Japanese role-play game, like Final Fantasy... If you go up against the boss under leveled, you get beaten, right?
Yeah.
And the best way to do it is just grind and grind and grind and grind. So you're so overpowered when you walk into that boss, you kill them in a few shots. And that's kind of really the way I feel about it now. That when I walked into the MPS and I walked into Ali Pali, I just felt overpowered. It was, you know, just wrestling Pete. You know? Just wrestling people that I've worked for years, so kind of it didn't feel difficult. I didn't outthink myself as well, which I think is a lot of people do when they kind of get to those stages.
Yeah.
Because I've had that, you know. I used to have really bad. I remember when I first started working for IPW, there was like a year period where I kind of just complete self-doubt kicked in. And I remember wrestling like Jimmy and Kyle O'Reilly and just getting to the points where that we were doing these matches and I would just forget parts and just panic and have this massive panic. Now I forget stuff and I just lay on the floor and go, it's going to come. It's going to come. If it doesn't, I'll make something up. And just think, it doesn't matter.
That's like that granddad mentality, that is. This old man in you just like, I'm just going to lie here now.
I'm just going to lie here.
Wait.
Just wait. It'll come to me. Don't panic. That's the point, because I know I can cover anything up now, so it's not really the end of the world. So yeah, I think it was the right place. You know, it was the right time. I don't think... if I'd have done it earlier, I would have probably been lower down on the card and it would have taken even longer to work my way up.
Yeah.
And I think it was just right place, right time. It's really unfortunate that Eddie got injured.
Absolutely.
But it was a great opportunity for me to step into, and it's only done me the world of good.
But that's the thing with wrestling, though. You know, it's horrible that Eddie got injured and had to vacate the belt, but at the same time, you know, everything happens for a reason, and you know, it worked out well in your favour, and you've got to take that opportunity. You can't be too down about it. I'm sure, you know, behind the scenes, Eddie, I'm sure, was pretty happy for you. So yeah, you know, it all works out for the best in the end, and when he comes back, I'm sure he'll be gunning for you, mate.
Yes, I'm sure he will.
Well, you know, like, speaking of, like, we were just talking about, like, timing and people deserving opportunities and stuff. Like, who would you say right now? Let's stop putting you over for a minute. Who would you say you would like to see go up a level, like on the stages of like Progress and things like that, or even just like people who you want to see branching out a bit more, just getting out there a bit more, whatever it might be? Who's someone that kind of sticks out in your mind as someone who you think, you know, could go really far in wrestling but just hasn't had that opportunity? Or even maybe someone who's just been overlooked, maybe someone who's been around for a while and just, you know, for whatever reason isn't looked upon or given those big opportunities.
A person that it automatically springs to mind is Cassius.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cassius is amazing. Wherever he wrestles, people just want to cheer him. It's really hard nowadays to be the 100% babyface, and I think that's who he is. People just want to they're just excited by him. They get excited by his entrance, and there's so much empathy for him when he's getting beaten up. And I think that with a slight bit of honing, he will be. It'll only take a few companies to get behind him, and
he did the. It was meant to be a dark match, but ended up being the opening match due to illness at Progress, and that was the reaction for him was incredible.
Yeah.
And that alone says the level that Cassius is at. I think that one of my favourite matches from last year was me and Cassius at Riptide. And it's the one match that from last year, despite all the other matches that I had last year, that crops up every now and then and people saying, oh, it was my favourite match because the storytelling in it.
Yeah.
You know, that was something that
like, just a backstory, like, you guys had wrestled quite a lot already before that, just at Lucha. So, like, was this the first time outside of Lucha that you guys had worked? Or?
Yeah, I
feel like it was.
Yeah, it's the first time. And it was, like, my request to Riptide saying, I want to wrestle Cassius. Because I want them to see how good he was. I think they realised that when he ended up going through the tournament of Pride of Brighton, I think it was called. And I think that, now it's kind of, the audience need that. They need a babyface to his calibre, and I think there's a massive gap in the market for him, and he's definitely one that springs to mind. I think Paddy's another one who I think really has, in the last year, found his own, and it's great that, you know, he's now... Well, yeah, he was at Lucha, and he used to do the Lavelles. Is that right?
Yeah, he did the Lavelles, him and Gladden.
Chris Gladden, and then he
the clown
was...
as
I
well.
can never remember the name of the clown.
Payaso.
Something.
Pesticide. I don't know. I can't
Don't know.
remember.
Someone
It's
correct
been a
us
while.
on that. I can't remember.
Payaso will do.
Piasso, yeah, the nightmare clown. I remember Paddy being quite crazily creative when he did that and pulling all sorts of horrible things out of his mouth. I remember him pulling a bloody condom out of his mouth during one match, and this is the thing. Like, these moments stick with me. Hence why I kind of like, oh, you know, let's create moments in wrestling rather than, you know. I remember after the show, well, it was during the interval, he went to the toilet and then just unlocked the toilet door and stood in the toilet, and anytime anyone opened the door he would scream at them. That man's a genius.
Oh, that's cool.
So I always think that he's another one. There was one more that came to mind and I can't, it's just gone. Spike Trevay is another one that I think, another person who I think is very underrated for his level and gets so much heat to the point where people get so angry just for him being there, and I think that's a great representation of how we feel politically in society today, especially with the advent of Brexit and the Conservatives being in power. I think it's definitely fueled at him, and he gets so much hate on Twitter, which for me, I'm like, you're a genius, because this is great. I think for him it's a bit hard to deal with sometimes. But yeah, as a creative in-ring performer, he's willing to take risks and do things out of the box. And I have had a series of matches with him, but I'm going to do the third very soon. And I've loved every single one and how we creatively push each other. He's definitely one that I feel that with the right company, for example, Riptide, just let him loose, because the stuff that he comes out with and playing with the audience and offending the audience, I think, is really important. It's really important to offend the audience because it allows the good guy to triumph over them. So I think that as a piece of performance art, and if it's like comedy, there needs to be audience engagement. This idea that the audience are frightened of it. He's not going to go over and punch them. He's not going to bully them. He is engaging them. and I think that's something that's really, not we're frightened to do as wrestlers and performers. Audience engagement is what creates memories and moments, and
at the end of the day, they're the people buying the tickets.
yeah,
If you don't engage them, what's the point?
exactly.
Cool. Well, we've been talking for a while, so we're going to look to wrap up. But we'll play a little game before we go.
Oh God.
Get your brain going, Tom.
Oh.
This is Lucha Word Association. I'm going to throw you a name of
This
people at
isn't worried.
Lucha. Be nice.
What do you mean by word association?
So I'm going to give you people from Lucha.
Okay.
I might even throw in the odd one that's
What do
not
I have
from
to say?
Lucha.
What I think about them, or what?
Just like a short sentence. I would say one word, but that's hard. So
I'm gonna
keep
pause.
it easy. Yeah, you can take a second. We'll edit it and post.
Yeah, you can.
But so I'm just gonna throw names at you. You give like a very short summary, like a quick sentence on that person.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, you look nervous.
I'm worried.
Why are you nervous?
I don't know.
You love everyone.
Yeah,
You're such a happy person.
I'm a very direct person, and I don't know whether people really want to hear that on a podcast.
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm gonna go. Greg Burridge.
How do I describe Greg Burridge in a sentence? He's
To be fair, you could write a book.
exactly. He's an amazingly complex individual, and I think that he really doesn't get the credit for what he offered British wrestling, and was around at the point where, if he was around now, he would be killing it, but it was just the wrong time, and I kind of now as a trainer, I think people need to start giving him credit for the people that he's helped and guided. That's more than a sentence, sorry.
No, that's fine. It's Greg. We'll allow it.
Yeah.
Cool. Gary Vanderhorn.
Gary is like the ultimate kind of like optimist and sees things in such a positive light, in the fact that he can see things like... he goes, I've got this move idea. Let's see if we can pull it off. And it doesn't matter how many times you fall and hurt yourself, you'll keep trying it because he had this vision of, let's see if we can do this move. And sometimes you can pull off the most craziest of things. There's a handful of moves that I can probably only do with like 2 people, because of working with Gary.
Jerry Bakewell.
He's another underrated genius, and owe a lot to him because he was one of my first people that I ever wrestled and actually let me do moves other than just squash me.
Cool. Fug. Big John Fug.
Probably the heaviest cruiserweight I've ever met.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Who else? Santeria. A.K.A. Voodoo. I know you've had a lot of matches with him, so I know this one's probably a bit of a hard one for you.
It is a hard one. I think it's hard because, again, I've had so many matches with him. He was one of my favourite opponents for such a long period of time because, again, creatively he would just let me do anything. Yeah, so I think he's very generous, and he knows how to help young people, younger talent.
Malik. You can say it, dickhead. That's fine. We'll move on.
Just don't hit people so hard. You know.
It's his gimmick though. Heavy hitter.
Yeah, but then there's heavy hitter, and then just knocking people unconscious, and then frightened to touch any female. You know.
I mean, he's
in the
getting
ring.
better with that ever since B. Priestley took the piss out of him, and then he like jaw jacks her.
Yeah, but you know, there's one extreme to another.
Yeah.
You know, find the middle ground, my friend.
Oh dear, bless him. Gets excited.
Yeah.
Okay, give you a couple more. Let's go with Sam Allen, aka Nina Samuels.
Sam is one of my favourite opponents. We told like a year-long story between me and her, and had 3 great matches. And I like working Sam purely because I feel like I can pull her out of her comfort zone and be like, we're going to do this tonight. And she'd be like, oh, are we? I'd be like, yes, we are. And I talk her into doing crazy things. Yeah, and I love that. I love the fact that I can kind of... We created really good moments at Lucha and just told a really good story. Yeah, I wouldn't have dropped the belt at the time to anyone else because she deserves it.
Bacon Jr.
One of my favourites gimmicks in Lucha, I think. And it's so stupid, but also it connects with everyone. It's great.
Bruno Brown, Disco Diablo.
Yeah, so I think he's another really good up and comer. I think he will, if he keeps working out and keeps going the way he is, and he will be unstoppable. He'll essentially go as far as he wants to go, I think, and he has that potential because people like Cassius just love to get behind him. Have created so much empathy like a good babyface should.
Cool. I've got 2 more for you. Callum Newman.
Just needs to
So actually, before you give your description, let me tell you why Tom's laughing. Why I think you're laughing anyway. Because when I say Callum Newman, it's like saying Tom Dawkins, but 5 years ago or whatever it was.
Yeah.
To similar, not exactly the same.
I'm nowhere near as flippy.
No, that is also true. He can outflip you.
I can't do.
But
what
he's getting
he does.
heavier now. He's getting bigger.
He is. I can see where he is, and I can see what his problem is, and he is. Yeah, what you describe it is exactly in the position where I was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And no one can tell him where the next step is. He has to find it, and the problem is that's where he's at, and I can understand it's frustrating, it's horrible, and it's a difficult position to be in. But once he cracks it, he'll be unstoppable.
I think before I get on to my last person, just to add to that, I think the thing that differs it slightly from him to you, and it's not even that long of a time ago from when you were at that level to where he is now, but like you look back then, social media wasn't as big of a thing back then as it is now, and it's only like 5 to 8 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
So like you didn't have like many eyes on you. You could like grow and develop, and there wasn't really any pressure.
Oh, I was rotten and no one could see it.
Yeah. Whereas if he does anything remotely not good or below average, everyone can see it now. It's like it's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, and like it's hard. You're living under a microscope now.
Well, on that side note, not to take up too much time, but like I think that's the problem with new wrestlers. They get stuck into Twitter is horrible for them because they're not allowed to foul. They go and do these shows and then they get stuck with gimmicks that they don't really enjoy, and then they don't feel like they can change because they've got t-shirts printed with this name on. They're not allowed to I don't know. I remember when I first started, I was one gimmick 1 week, and then the next week I was something else, and the next week I was something else, until I kind of eventually found a black belt character that was a little bit more at home with what I wanted to do, but still wasn't right. And I kept that ridiculous gimmick for way too long, probably 7 years, I think, by that point. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's where he's at as well. But yeah, he's ridiculously talented. I've known him since he was like. He says 8, but I'm pretty certain he was 10.
Yeah, I think it was about 10. We were both there. It was about
he says 8.
10.
He was 8, but
9.
I'm pretty confident he was 10. And I taught him to bump and do basic.
You also taught me to. I was the first. You were the first person to ever show me anything in wrestling.
Oh, brilliant!
I don't know if you were aware of that.
So
you showed me how to bump. So it's all your fault.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're going to blame me for...
Which brings me perfectly into my last person. Kosta K. Blow some smoke. Here we go. Put me over, bitch.
Do you want to hear it?
Well, I can edit it out if it's not good. I'll take some words that you said earlier that were like, he's really good, he's great, he's so good, and then I'll add them on.
I'm going to talk as if you're not here.
Okay,
So, I think Kosta... Kosta's great. And he understands wrestling more than most people. I just wish he'd changed his gimmick, because then he would be everywhere. Because he's so good, and it's he simplifies wrestling in such a way that it needs to be simplified. He tells the story that he needs to, and I think that if he just took the opportunity to evolve the character that he has, he would be ridiculously busy.
Cool. I'll now let you say it like I am in the room. Say what you would like to actually say.
Well, that would be what I would like to say, I guess. Yeah.
Oh dear. No, that was great.
Yeah.
Cool.
You see what I mean?
My ego's like through the roof right now. That's like the nicest thing you've ever said to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah. Apart from that one time you actually stopped for a McDonald's, that was nice.
Did I?
Yeah, one time.
I think it was only
because Shah and Paul were both in the car.
Yeah.
Because they asked, but that was a good day. But anyway, as we wrap up, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to put over, brother? The Twitters, the gimmicks. We'll put them all in on the stuff, but
it's Cara Noir pretty much everywhere. I've got to caranoir.com for merch,
your training gimmicks, and your
So if you ever want to come and get thrown around by me and learn how to do backflips and crazy gymnastic skills and take your wrestling or just even fitness to a more interesting level than going to the gym. We do we and my partner Claire run Reset Lab, and we teach adult gymnastics, which is really hard to find adult gymnastics. So it really doesn't matter what level. We've got other kind of courses for all ages, and anyone can learn how to flip and fly. I'm an advocate for it because unlike Claire, who's did it when she was a child, I learnt to backflip at the age of 30. My backflip's not perfect, but I can do it, and it's an achievement to be able to do it at 30 with a broken wrestler's body. So I kind of believe that I can get anyone to do a backflip.
Cool. Any other training stuff that you got going on? You do the Lucha as well now, don't you?
Yeah, I would say I do the. It's at the minute it's probably once a month. Coach at the London School of Lucha Libre.
What have you got going on?
I'm just
sitting around in your pants playing PlayStation.
Schedule is really busy, and being a father doesn't allow me to do a lot of things.
Oh, we've not put over the baby.
Well, she's
put over Luna.
Shout out. If you want to see more about Luna, she's got
Twitter and Instagram and shit.
She has an Instagram, Luna and the Swan.
Has she got more followers than you yet?
No, because I don't really promote it. It's kind of like my side project as just more as a thoughts and discussions around fatherhood and things that I kind of feel. And she's going to be one on Monday the 24th of February. Not to timestamp this podcast.
So if you want to send presents,
no, don't send presents.
If presents in the form of cash to Tom Dawkins.
Because babies are expensive.
They are expensive. Lucky for you, you've got gold now.
Yeah.
You could cash in that gold.
Yeah, I don't think Progress would be happy if I cashed in there.
Just go get a cheap replica made, innit?
Yeah, exactly.
They won't notice.
They would never know.
Oh, could you imagine? Well, anyway, anything else you want to plug? Anyone else you want to put over before we go? Or have you said too many nice things about people today?
Probably the only other thing, and the other really the people that kind of help me to get to where I am. I'm sure I've missed everyone out and missed loads of people and forgot names and stuff like that. But it's other than I don't really have anything else. I don't think.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've wrapped up the same way we opened up, in a really weak ending.
Really weak ending. I was just trying to think of anyone I've forgotten, but I'm sure I've forgotten everyone, and I'm gonna feel bad about it. But
it's cool, man. We've talked for a while.
Wrap
up now. I'm gonna go do a wrestle.
Yeah, you go do a wrestle, and
You can come watch.
I might come and watch you wrestle.
Come be a mark for me.
And tell you that you're rubbish.
Well, I've got audio proof now that you don't actually think that way. So yeah, this has been fun.
Are you just going to play that on loop forever then?
Oh mate, that's all the podcast is going to be.
Just that?
This whole hour or whatever that we've been talking, it's just going to be that, and then it's just going to cut back to me talking about how great I am.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm assuming you didn't listen to episode 1.
No, I listened to bits, but I kind of trailed off.
I spent a lot of time putting myself over on that. So
Did you?
This fits in really well with that.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this has been fun.
Brilliant. I'm
We'll have
glad
to
I
do
was
it
your
again
first
sometime.
interview, yeah.
You were my first
Okay.
interview, I should add.
I'll send it in.
Oh, that was fun. Do you want to become the next Will Ospreay, the next Cara Noir, or even the next Nina Samuels? Then you need to get yourself down to the London School of Lucha Libre, open 3 days a week. Monday and Wednesday open to all levels, from beginners to intermediates to pros, with Tuesdays strictly advanced and pros. All classes are open from 7:30pm till 10:30pm and are just £10. So get yourself down to the famous Resistance Gallery and be trained by the legendary Greg Burridge, where you can become the future star of Brit Res today. So there you have it, folks. My interview with Cara Noir, aka Tom Dawkins. And yeah, it was very interesting. Very nice of him to put me over so well at the end there. I'm going to be bragging about that for many years to come.
Oh.
And very nice of him to say some nice-ish
I'm
words
never gonna
about
hear
you.
the end of it. Yeah.
No, I believe the term is stiff.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was great. It was great catching up with Tom. Love talking to Tom. He's one of my oldest friends in wrestling. And yeah, it was good fun. But now, before we wrap things up, I think it's time, Malik.
For? Uh-oh.
Malik Mysteries.
Is that the intro now?
It should be. I will come up with a proper intro, hopefully, in the next few episodes. I don't know, but it's now just Malik Mysteries. Oh my goodness. So, last episode,
Why do you do this?
I told a fantastic story, a tale, a anecdote, if you will, about how you were on a stripper pole in a certain venue. I believe it was a nightclub, and
Well, yeah, obviously it was a nightclub.
Yeah.
It wasn't a train station, was it?
Well, you know, it could, maybe you have one in your house. I don't know.
Hey,
No, he doesn't. I've been in his house. He doesn't have one there. Not that I've seen.
You ain't been everywhere.
Jesus. Anyway, yeah, there was a stripper pole in a nightclub with you and a certain neon explosion and a lot of grinding and spinning on the pole. Am I missing any other part of the story here, Connor?
Not that I can remember.
Cool. So that was the story. And I actually put a thing out on Instagram on the This Is Lucha Town... This is Lucha Pod. I can't even name our own gimmick here.
That's good for the socials.
Well, you know, you've got to plug the socials where we can. And I asked people to give their thoughts on whether this story was truth or lies. I can confirm that 86% of our listeners who voted thought it was true. They think you're the type of person
that would do
to
that.
go out to a nightclub
Really?
and swing around on a pole with Cassius.
Come on, what is wrong with you people? Why would you think that about me? Okay, it's true.
Yeah, it's true. It is 100% factual.
I am totally that guy.
Yes. But now that we know that's true, is there anything you want to say about that? Do you have any defense for what you did, or are you proud of it? Like, how do you feel about
Why
that?
do you say defense?
I don't know. Do you feel you need to defend it, or is it just, you know?
No.
Okay,
Should
cool.
I defend it?
No, you don't have to. I'm just asking you if you...
Okay, so
If you
here's
feel
what
the need
happened.
to.
I spend 95% of my day like working or in the gym. So when I go out, I like to let my hair down. And then I went out and partied with Cassius, and there was a pole there. One thing led to another, and it turns out I'm really freaking good at pole dancing as well.
I'd like to point out there's a good, 60% of these stories that involve Malik, Cassius, and one thing led to another. But anyway, this week's story, is a little bit different. It's not. It's not as exciting, but it paints Malik in a certain light, I feel. And again, feel free, stay tuned to our social medias and you get to vote on whether you think it's true or not, and let us know what you think. So, Malik.
Mm-hmm.
This week's Malik mystery story goes all the way back to the year 2016. Myself and Malik were... I'm talking like I'm reading from an old tale.
You are. That's right.
It is an old tale. So basically, me and Malik, in the year 2016, we'd been working for WAW for quite a while up in Norwich for the nights. And one of our very good friends up there, a certain AEW superstar by the name of Kip Sabian, he would often let us stay at his place. So one night, we're staying in his place, and Kip goes to bed, and me and Malik had the living room, a sofa each. No funny business, obviously. He tried.
You wish.
Yeah, so we're nodding off, and then Malik gets up, and he's like, I'm just going to go pee. And I'm like, all right, fair enough. Leaves the room. Not even about, 20 seconds go by? All I hear is... slams the door, and he's panicked. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, are you okay? What's going on? Oh my god, man. So, I can't right now. I can't. I'm like, Malik, what's going on? So, Kip's dog was at the top of the stairs, and it chased me down the stairs. Kip's dog is tiny, so it's a very average-sized dog. And I looked at Malik, I went, what do you mean it chased you down the stairs? And he goes, it growled at me. And I couldn't go to the toilet, so I ran back down the stairs and it chased me. So I left the room to go and see if the dog was okay. And the dog was just perched at the top of the stairs, chilled, relaxing, minding its own business. So basically the moral of this story is that Malik is scared of and hates dogs. So... feel free now to go, once it's all up online, have a little vote, have a little think, and let us know whether you think that story is true or not. Malik, don't spoil it. Don't tell people the truth yet.
No.
Next month's episode, we'll find out. But yeah, that's Malik's Mysteries, episode 2. Oh, it's the little things in life. Malik hates dogs, though. I want that to be a trend one day.
Name of the episode.
Yeah.
What?
Name of...
No!
Yeah! I've been thinking, actually, on a real one, we should name the episodes after funny shit from the show. That's a great name for this show. Malik hates dogs. Not Cara Noir interview. No. Not sit down with Progress Chap. Just Malik hates dogs. Yeah. Hashtag. Get that shit trending.
No, don't get that shit trending.
Heavy shitter of dogs.
Or the heavy stripper, as we heard earlier.
Hey.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So,
Magic,
again,
Malik.
one last time, I'll plug it. Go on social media, let us know what you think. Is it true or is it lies? Did Malik or did he not run away from Kip Sabian's tiny dog? Find out next week on This Is Lucha Pod. And that just about does it for this week's episode of This Is Lucha Pod. I have been the Greek sleaze Kosta K, joined, of course, by the Heavy Hitter Malik. Malik, anything you want to say to the people before we leave?
Fake news. Everything is fake news. Just...
except for the stripper pole
okay,
thing.
yeah, alright, cool.
Yeah, fair enough,
Moving
cool.
on.
Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for subbing in for Darcy Stone. Laziness of her. Yeah, thanks for being here.
Oh, also, this podcast is going big, right? So, as it's blowing up, just do the socials, innit?
Yeah, well, it's all going to be in the descriptions and stuff.
Oh, okay, beautiful.
At
Malik
This Is
_
Lucha
PW.
Pod. Oh, is that you?
Yeah.
Just your way of plugging you?
Yeah, MALIK _ PW. On all platforms. Not Snapchat. Don't add me on Snapchat.
Yeah, you don't want to add him on Snapchat. They're going to now, or you're an idiot. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll see you next month.